All right, Houston, we have contact. We are sitting at home, we're not doing anything. All of a sudden, ding, we get an email, and it is initial contact. How does this normally work? What is the process? What should you be doing in this time period? That's the kind of stuff that we're going to look at in this particular chapter. Okay, so when you receive more often than not, it's going to be an email. Sometimes you get a phone call or a text message or something like that, depending on the production company and the way that they like to work. But more often than not, it will be an email. And this is the part where you'd normally share it with the agent. The agent would normally take care of this stuff if you have an agent, but when you're starting out, this is how it's going to work. You'll get a initial contact from, more often than not, it's going to not be the director and not be the producer. Again, depending on the scale of the production company and the actual production, more often than not, it will be a production assistant that reaches out, someone that is in charge of booking. And the reason that happens is because directors and producers and production companies at this point in time in the process, when they're reaching out with these initial calls, it could be before the pitch has been won, so before the job has been awarded, or it could be after. And each of these two unique timings are going to have their own set of challenges and their own path that we're going to talk about. But a lot of the times there's so much going on inside of the production company that they're just looking to stick anyone on rounding up crew. So they will be putting out a series of emails to lots of cinematographers to check dates, because as you move higher up the list, cinematographers are working all the time. The busy ones are in demand. You're probably not likely, if you're a director and you're working on an international scale, you're probably not likely to lock down your, even your top 5 cinematography choices. So you have to start, expanding the reach and just making sure that not only does the person that you really want to work with, are they available with dates, but other people, backups in case other jobs come up or this job falls through. At this stage, the production assistant is really reaching out just to figure out who is available, and sometimes bundled in that, sometimes is rates. So especially if you've never worked with a production company before, you'll get an email that says something like this: hey, Patrick, saw your work, or big fan of your work, and we've got I'm so-and-so from blah, blah production company. We have a job coming up on these dates. Are you available? If so, can you send through your rate card, or can you send through rates, or can you send through references for other commercials? Can you send through something, right? That's the initial contact, is really about date checking. And once you know why they're checking dates, it's not just for you to be available, but it's also because they're doing this with a bunch of different people. So what is going to be beneficial for you is to, if you are available for those dates, to get back to them as soon as possible. Because again, this is probably not the director or the producer doing this. This is probably a production assistant who could care less if you shoot the job or not. So you want to be as responsive as you can, so that then your name goes on the list of people that are available. And the closer you are to the top of that, probably the more likely you are to end up getting the job. So if you are interested at all, reach out, say, yes, I'm available for these dates. If they do require that information, the rate card information, I always try and hold off on all of that. I just respond yes with the dates. Then if they press, especially a production assistant, if they press for rates or info like that, I will send it through eventually, but I'll try and hold off on that as much as I can, because we're going to talk about rates in a second and why I do that. But just know that I will always respond with, yes, I'm available for those days. And then let's say you're working with a smaller production company or a smaller director, and maybe it's the producer reaching out, and maybe it's the director reaching out to you, and maybe you're not available for those days. Well, this is when you have that time to, you can make a choice. Either you're going to help out this director and this producer by recommending local people, or recommending crew, or recommending other cinematographers that you know would do a fantastic job. That's how, even though you can't do the job, you're still maintaining a great relationship with those people, because you're helping them out, right? You're taking something off of their plate. You're taking responsibility for it and saying, yes, I'm going to find you another person, because that's how much I want to help. And if you have other jobs in the future, that help will, I hope, eventually come back to me. Now, the big takeaway from this is be as responsive as you can be quick. We're going to get into the director and the producer chats. If those happen first, we're going to do that in the next module when we talk about initial conversations with those guys. But really, at this stage, you won't know much about the job. You'll know the production company. You may know the client if they're feeling in a giving mood. You may see treatment. You may see boards, depending on the production company that sends this out. But realistically, you're not going to know a lot. You can judge, especially if the dates might overlap with something else that is also a possibility. The easiest way to judge the quality of the work is to look up the director. That'll obviously be stated in that email who the director is, but then also look up what the production company has done. So you can see the level, you can see what's expected. You can start to judge whether or not you want to do the job, whether it's going to be a good fit, and how seriously you take this just by doing a little bit of Google research. And the other thing to remember is at this stage, probably at least half of the jobs that come in, you're not going to be able to do just based on rates. So you need to have some sort of a system to get back to these individuals and say, would love to do the job. Thank you for considering me, blah, 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 whatever. Just have a response canned that you can send out and say, unfortunately, those dates don't match up. If there's anything in the future that lines up, I'd love to be a part of that. Just make it, be courteous, be grateful that someone reached out, checking for dates, but understand that at this point, at least half the jobs you're just not going to be available for because you've got other jobs on the go.